Many thanks for your company. The Tema Development Corporation, TDC, will mark more buildings as unsafe in the coming days after successfully evicting over 400 occupants from the Kaiser Flats Thursday morning. Majority of the occupants had voluntarily moved out of their flats before the intended forceful eviction. The 4 flats were marked as unsafe, and TDC secured a court order to get the occupants to move out. The mass eviction by the Tema Development Corporation is to pave way for the demolition of 4 of the multi-story flats. Matilda Pemega was at the Kaiser Flats and joins us in studio. Now, Matilda, you got there as early as 6 a.m. today. Tell me what you saw. Tell us what you saw.
So generally, it was a peaceful exercise. So when I got to the place, it was a heavy police and military presence. You could see so many of the residents coming out of their rooms, especially those whose buildings have not been marked yet. They were just looking on as the TDC and then the NADMO officials went around trying to secure those 4 separate story buildings. You know, these buildings are scattered. They are not in one particular place. They are just within the enclave. So there is one flat where we were stationed. That's the flat almost everybody had moved out before the officials came in this morning. The other flats too saw many of them moving out. A few of them who had not moved out had their things thrown out and they've been marked. The whole place has also been cordoned off. Yeah.
Okay, Matilda, earlier we heard the authorities tell us they would put up a temporary structure for those who did not have anywhere to move to. How far with that? Did you see any signs of that today?
So generally, most of them had moved out. So it wasn't as if it's not a surprise to them. They're already aware that this is going to happen. Unlike some other evictions where you would see people fighting officials and the authorities. This one, they were peaceful about it. They all went about. So you wouldn't even find anyone saying that they don't have anywhere to go. But there were few of them who are still hanging around. But one thing we should know that these 4 buildings are not the only buildings that are supposed to go down in the coming days. We do not know when exactly they'll be going down. But the chief engineer at the Tema Development Corporation told me that in the coming days we'll see more of the buildings. He was responding to this because the affected occupants in those 4 flats said this eviction is they describe it as a selective eviction. Okay. So the engineer has been explaining to me that there are other buildings that are in terrible states that will go down to as well.
All right, we can hear him now.
These 4 are those that are in a very deplorable state. If you enter into some of them, you will see that even the slabs are falling. And so that is the reason why we have decided that these 4 have been declared dangerous, and then we have to bring them down immediately. We have plans for the other ones, but these are the ones that are in a very terrible state. So it is not a question of selective eviction, but we want to make sure that lives and properties are safe. Those people have legally acquired their properties, those ones. It will not be a question of just coming in to eject them. At least before you move them out, you have to put a plan in place, at least, for resettling them. Maybe if it's a question of getting some flats somewhere and moving them out to those places, we'll look at all those modalities.
Are we doing same for the over 400 who have been evicted from the 4 flats we talk now?
The 4 flats that we have evicted them this morning, what happened was that the legal occupants were compensated. We gave them lands to move.
What form of compensation was that?
Them lands to move.
When was that?
It's about some, I don't actually remember, but it's a very long time. It's a very long time.
Was it lands given to them free of charge?
That one I may not be in the position to answer, but I know that they were given lands. We told them that the flats were in a very dangerous state. So they were given lands to move. So the real occupants, the real tenants had moved. The people that we are evicting today, most of them are squatters.
Most of them are squatters?
I can even see that many of them are squatters. Yeah, yes.
But yesterday, some of them talked about the fact that, yes, they were given some lands in the past. Lands are at very subsidized rates for them, and some of them were unable to move out of the place. For these other buildings that you are looking at, that you're saying that in the coming days they are likely to also be evicted, what processes are there for you to go through?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that we have a master plan to redevelop the whole place. But we are looking immediately at these very dangerous ones that we want to pull down immediately. But we will structure it in such a way that we will look at the other ones in the near future.
So, Matilda, that was the engineer on that, with regards to that particular eviction exercise. Tell us what NADMO has also been telling you.
So NADMO has already put in place a temporary shelter that will accommodate those who do not have any place to go. The Director General for NADMO, Nanajiman Prempe, showed me one woman who had not moved out yet because she doesn't have anywhere to go. They have made provision for her and a few others who will be accommodated for a short period.
Our work consists of reconstruction and relief. So it is not about being interested in getting people evicted alone. Relief aspect, we look at it. There's one woman we've realized will not get anywhere. And the TEMA, NADMO, and TDC are working hand in hand to get her a place, a safe havens. The regional director of Greater Accra is here. He just told me they are getting some mattresses and others to get them somewhere to stay. So we are looking at all those. But the people, the residents, I must commend them. They've comported themselves well because many of them left voluntarily. That is so good for us. The one person who cannot get a place, like I rightly said, we've looked for a place for.
Where's the safe haven you were talking about?
Where we do not want to disclose where people are going to stay, for security reasons. But it is within Tema Metropolis.
How big is this place and how many people can that accommodate?
The family. That family who have nowhere to go, they are going there.
How long does NADMO intend to keep these people in this safe haven?
Well, first things first. They are going there. We're managing for them to go and get a place to stay. At least they have to sleep today, tomorrow, and the next day. Whilst they will be looking for. It is not our responsibility to get a permanent place for them forever. No. So we've gotten a place for them temporarily. And after that, they will look for a place and move.
The Director General of NADMO, Matilda, finally before you go, tell me what's being done for those who've paid rent in advance, for example, to live in these flats. Are they going to be compensated?
Yes, we do not know what form or shape their compensation is going to take, but their buildings are part of those that in the coming days it will also be going down because some legally acquired these properties. So it's more like they bought it from TDC. So they paid outright for it. So TDC has a plan to compensate them, whether to build new flats for them or to give them lands like they did for those who have been affected with this recent one. But TDC has been explaining to me that they don't have the plan yet, but in the coming days, they will be telling us what exactly they intend to do with these other buildings too as well.
Thank you very much, Matilda Bermegan, bringing us details from the Kaiser Flats eviction earlier this morning. Now, while officials of NADMO here in Accra are helping those who don't have a place to stay as a result of the Kaiser Flats eviction, officials of NADMO in the Upper West region have shut all offices of the agency to protect attacks on them by thugs suspected to be loyalists of the governing NPP. It was a chaotic scene yesterday when some youth said to have come from the Wa East District raided the office and beat up the personal assistant to the regional coordinator, Isaac Seidu. 4 people arrested in connection with the incident were allegedly released following a directive from the regional minister. Now, Mr. Seidu wants the perpetrators to face justice. Upper West Public Relations Officer of NADMO, Erica Asaya, addressed a news conference earlier today. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam joins us on the line with details of that news conference. Hello, Rafiq.
Hello, Benny.
Tell us what the details of this news conference are.
The details of the news conference is in connection with yesterday's attack or the besiege of the office of the Upper West NADMO office. Yesterday, some supporters of the MPP believed to be coming from the West East constituency of the Upper West region besieged the NADMO office and then to chase the regional coordinator of NADMO out. Remember, the NADMO coordinator also doubles as a regional organizer of the MPP, and so he was the officer in charge of the what is in the recent or just held polling station executive election. And so there was some misunderstanding in that constituency. I learned a committee called Bairi, and so he forwarded the reports to the regional executive of the party and then waiting for his response. So he was in his office when some youth, also supporters of the party, numbering about 30, and some 4 macho men came into the scene, tried to enter the office, but they were prevented by the personal assistant of the Upper West NADMO coordinator, and then it ended in a free-for-all fight around the area. And so it affected a lot of people because that particular office is just at the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, forcing the Upper West Regional Minister to come out. But let me tell you, this man currently on your screen is a personal assistant. He was the one that was beaten to pulp, and also the secretary of number one, Beatrice Abu. Beatrice Abu, not you. Beatrice Abu also was also severely beaten. And so this was what exactly happened. And Upper West Regional Minister, he heard the scene, he came to the scene, and according to NADMO officials, he ordered for the release of the 4 suspects that were arrested by the police.
So tell us more about what the NADMO officials are going to do. We saw a post on one of the doors or the notice board in the office saying that if these people are not arrested, they're not going to come back to work.
Yes, I was at the office early in the morning around 8 o'clock, and I saw the officers of NADMO, and they told me about the press conference that they were going to hold. And also, so they held a press conference and then gave an ultimatum saying that they are going to embark on an indefinite strike unless those suspects, the 4 that were arrested by the police, who they allege that the Upper West Regional Minister came in and then asked the police to release them. If they are not arrested and then also prosecuted, they are not going to come back to the office. And so after the press conference, they went straight to the house of the embattled NADMO coordinator, his house, and then to at least show solidarity to him.
And finally, before you go, Rafiq, have we heard from the regional minister with regards to these allegations that he ordered the release of these 4 people? And who are these 4 people? Do we even know who they are?
There are 4 people, I don't know them, and according to the NADMO officers, they are telling us that the people that came to the scene were about 30, but 4 people were the ones that were trying to force their way into the office, and they were the 4 suspects. They were the 4 guys that were arrested. But according to the Upper West Regional Minister, he was also in his office when somebody came and told him that they were attacking the coordinator of NADMO, and that really surprised him. So he came into the scene and then at least to stop the guys. And then so when they were arrested by the police, he told the police that already by the time that you came, I had already solved or spoken to the people. So leave the guys with me so that I will speak to both sides, hear their story, and then tomorrow I'll bring back them to the police station. And so that was what he said. And so for him, he thinks that he's not interfering in whatever they are saying. But the NADMO officers are saying that no, minister was interfering, and they are really disappointed in his act.
And have we heard from the police on this matter?
The police haven't spoken for now.
All right. Thank you very much, Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam there. Away from that, a research by engineers at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology shows that maize contains cancer-causing metal substances. That's milled maize. Now, the findings are published in the Journal of Science and Technology. Suggests Ghanaians consume between 25 to 97.2 milligrams of iron particles daily for meals prepared from milled maize. This is far above the National Research Council recommended dietary iron intake. Live FM's Kwesi Debra reports.
It's 2 p.m. Francis Abesiwie attends to his 12 clients. Local alcoholic beverage Pito Briwa Akusia is here to have her soaked millet milled. Milling involves crushing the sorghum into powder by a pair of metal plates, one stationary and the other turning. The same machine is used to mill and blend tomatoes and other vegetables in the morning, and cereals afterwards. Ordinarily, it takes about 20 minutes to mill 25 kilograms or more of millet. Immediately Francis is done, Akosia's 2-kilogram dry maize follows. After all is done, it's time to clean up the grinding plates.
Everybody say, why you do my bright? When
the workload is high, it wears away every 2 days. There's a need to sharpen them. With less workload, they can last for a week. Francis prefers to buy locally made plates to imported ones. The foreign plates wear out slowly, but they can't be recycled. They are also expensive. Corn milling, whether wet or dry, is a major activity in Ghana. According to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, over 95% of Ghanaians enjoy dishes prepared from milled maize. Wearing of the plates means metal particles finding their way into the milled stuff.
I know with the mention of iron, most of you will be thinking about the formation of red blood cells, carrying of oxygen in the bloodstream, the building of tissues, the building of muscles, the building of the brains. Sorry to say, the one found in your kinky is not the usual or doesn't act like ferrous sulfate BP. It's rather a dangerous one.
A study conducted at 105 maize milling shops in Ghana found for a total of 1,800 kilograms of milled maize, the amount of metallic iron particles found is about 175 kilograms and 90 kilograms for wet and dry milling respectively. The findings again indicates the amount of iron particles in milled maize increased with the quantity. Engineer Dr. Anthony Andrews of KNUST Department of Materials Engineering is a member of the research team.
What is serious about this is that the iron that is in the condo is in there as metallic iron. And so when you consume it, it's an unorthodox way of consuming iron. And so the metallic iron is more carcinogenic, which has a detrimental effect on the health of human beings.
The researchers are taking steps to improve the wear resistance of the locally produced mill plates.
Elements like chromium can be added to it. In that case, it becomes a cast steel rather than just a cast iron. And the chromium content in it will improve the corrosion property of it and therefore has a tendency to minimize the wear.
The Materials Engineering Department of KNUST plans to train small-scale foundry operators to improve manufacture of milling plates. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
The Municipal Chief Executive of the Ga East Municipal Assembly, Janet Mensah, says the fire that destroyed some 60 container shops at the Dome Market is a suspected arson. The NCA says some persons who've been fighting the assembly over a portion of the market had threatened to cause the destruction a few hours before the fire. The street in front of the market has been cordoned off as fire officers work to establish the cause of the fire.
I want to find out what you've gathered so far from your interactions with the market women here.
And that it was a deliberate attempt to destroy the properties. This
information is coming from the market women here?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Now, are you able to identify who these persons are, who this person is?
As for now, it is a suspicion that I have. And yes, I have people that I suspect doing that. Okay. Yeah, there are people who have interest in causing this mayhem.
But because you want to get them off the streets, you want to get them, prevent them from selling?
People have interest in the place, yes. Okay. Yes, they want to own it, but the place belongs to the assembly. Yes, it does not belong to an individual. Okay. That is it. And so an individual cannot fight the government. Yeah.
I don't want to take you back, but we want to know the people who are suspected, to have, caused the fire. Is it the market women who sell in the streets, or who are these people?
We have people who claim the land belongs to them, and so they take monies from the women to give them spaces. I've already told you that the place belongs to the assembly. The monies that they even take, do they account to the assembly? No. And after making this place, you can see it's looking nice. Someone will come and use a chalk to demarcate and collect 1,000 cedis, 1,500. I will not allow that. Yes.
Are they the bona fide owners of the land?
They claim to be the bona fide owners. Yes.
And what have you done to prevent them from, taking control over this place? Have you thought of any, maybe any court action restricting them?
We are in the courts. Okay. Yeah.
So as it speaks right now, that matter is still in court?
Yes. Yes.
Are you able to provide us names, any names, the individuals?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Yes.
Okay. But there are people who are fighting you over the land?
Exactly.
Okay.
You're watching Joy News Today with me, Bernice Abubedu. Still to come, Information Minister Mustafa Hamid says the attacks on Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta by the minority is baseless. Also, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will proceed to court to seek to set aside some findings by Shraj in its investigation into the $2.25 billion issue relating to his asset declaration. Details of that shortly. Thanks for staying here on Joy News Today. Now, the trial of former top executives of the National Communications Authority has been put on hold by an Accra High Court as it served notice of referring a request by some defense lawyers to the Supreme Court for interpretation. The defense lawyers had argued that their client under Ghana's laws were entitled to a fair trial which required access to adequate facilities, including a list of all prosecution witnesses to enable them make their case. Court correspondent Joseph Akable joins me in studio with more. So Joseph, these defense lawyers apparently are not only asking for a list of prosecution witnesses. What more are they demanding?
They had also asked that the AG gives them caution statements that they took from those who appeared before them as witnesses even before they arraigned them to come and testify in court. Apart from that, so they said all documents relating to this case in the possession of the Attorney General, including those that they intend to present to the court and those that they don't intend to present, they want all that to be provided to them. They had insisted that you can't blindfold someone and tell the person to defend himself. You need to open up and let him see what he's up against. Interesting.
So what was the Attorney General's response? Obviously, she opposed this.
She did, and her point was that the laws doesn't allow that. As far as she's concerned, this was a summary trial that required that, in simple terms, what they needed to produce at any given point, they can give that to them, and that the list of witnesses was strange before the law, so they asked that the court ignores it. The other part they had mentioned was that since it bordered on Article 19.2 of the Constitution, which talked about the adequate facilities, they thought it was something of interpretation, a task that only the Supreme Court can perform and not the High Court.
There was a ruling by the judge sitting on the matter. Bring us up to speed on that.
He has directed that, as it stands, the case has been put on hold because as far as he's concerned, because lawyers on both sides disagree on interpretation of the law, it means that someone needs to rule on that interpretation, and only the Supreme Court can do that. So he says by Friday, they'll refer the matter to the Supreme Court to interpret that aspect of the Constitution. So once the Supreme Court receives it, they have to fix a date. They'll receive both lawyers to come and argue before them. Afterwards, they will then proceed to refer their ruling to the High Court before the High Court receives it and fix a date. So we cannot expect to go to court anytime soon with regards to the substantive case.
All right, and Joseph, we know that this case was to be heard on Tuesdays and Thursdays because the Attorney General wanted to fast-track the process, so we don't, slack on it. What is the implication of this on the case?
It means that next Tuesday we are not likely to go to court for the case because the processes first notify the Supreme Court. The court has to fix its own date. So it's more or less beyond the High Court for now. The Supreme Court has to finish with that aspect of the case that has been referred to it before the matter will even come back for the Tuesdays to Thursdays to take effect again.
You've been reporting from the court for a long time. Do you expect this case in the Supreme Court to drag?
We know for a fact that there's another case on the same issue. It has to do with pre-trial disclosure. It's exactly the same issue that is before the court, and I can tell you that has taken more than 12 months before the court. But with the urgency of this, we can expect some kind of influence or some pressure to be brought to bear on the justices to ensure that it is heard in time. But if that does not happen, we can expect some delay.
Thank you very much, Joseph Akoble, bringing us updates from court on that case involving top executives of the NCA. Away from that, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will proceed to court to seek to set aside some findings by Shraj in its investigation into the $2.25 billion issue relating to his asset declaration. According to Information Minister Mustafa Hamid, the matter of asset declaration was not before Shraj per the original complaint filed by the NDC's Project Jemfi. Thus, government believes the human rights body was not placed to make a pronouncement in it. Information Minister Mustafa Hamid has been responding to the minority's presser seeking Mr. Ofori-Atta's sack. He's also been dismissing the minority's claims of wrongdoing against Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Now, he says none of his business interests benefited from the bond issue. Mustafa Hamid describes the attacks by the minority on the Finance Minister as baseless and, quote, flogging a dead horse, end quote. My colleague Komla Adum was at that presser for us. Hello, Komla.
Hi, Benny.
Tell us more about this presser organized by the Information Minister.
Well, Benny, apart from dismissing the claims by the minority for Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to be sacked, Information Minister Mustafa Hamid has been telling the pressmen that the bond issuance in 2017 was done per the guidelines of the Bank of Ghana, and as such, in 2015, Ghana did a similar bond issue using similar guidelines, and so they do not find any wrongdoing in the Finance Minister applying the same guidelines given by the Bank of Ghana in the issuance of this particular bond in question. Also, Mustafa Hamid, Information Minister, has been telling pressmen that apart from dismissing the from the minority, they say that the minority are only bent on tarnishing the image of the Finance Minister, one which is described as baseless and would not watch. So they say, for example, that on the asset declaration form of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to Shraj, he indicated that he had shares and had an interest in Data Bank and other financial institutions. And so they do not know why Shraj will come out with a report citing different reports. And so they say it is one of the bases for which Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will be heading to court to set aside the findings relating specifically to the asset declaration which was given by Shraj over the bond issue.
All right. But do they deny the claims by Shraj's report or the claims in Shraj's report about his asset declaration?
Come again, Bennett.
I'm asking that Mustafa Hamid, Information Minister, stated that looking into Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta's asset declaration was not the original petition put before them, but did they deny the claim in that report or otherwise?
Well, he denied. He said there was no issue because per the request from Shraj to the Finance Minister, he was required to fill his asset declaration form, which he did, and so Shraj are fully aware that Finance Minister had shared an interest in Data Bank, and so they do not know why Shraj, again, in its findings, will state that there was some issue with the asset declaration. So that is one of the key reasons why they are heading to court to set aside this particular finding, specifically relating the asset declaration of a Finance Minister.
Thank you very much for the updates, Komla Adum, there bringing us some updates on that presser addressed by the Information Minister on the calls by the minority that Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta be sacked because of how he dealt with the $2.25 billion bond. Now, it's not a tale of two cities but of one. Whilst the central business district of Wa has its roads recently asphalted, the other suburbs have their roads riddled with potholes. Drivers supplying on these routes say the bad nature of the road makes their vehicle get spoiled. For them to use little money, they have to buy spare parts. John News' Upper West Region correspondent Rafiq Salam reports that some residents complain of headaches and chest pain as a result of the dust inhaled from the passing vehicles.
Coming into the heart of the central business district of the Wa municipality, driving or walking on the few kilometers of the asphalted roads, you may have a feeling that residents in the municipality have no worries about their roads. But that is not exactly the case as you move out of the central business district. This is the road linking the Wa municipality to the Nadolo Keleu, Dafema Buse Isa, Sasala West, Sasala East, and the Wa East districts. It is the road that leads to the industrial area, or better known as the Wa Magazine. It was constructed and paved with bituminous surface over 20 years ago. However, today it is replete with potholes. Vehicles and motorists plying the route try to dodge the gaping holes on the road, sometimes running into each other. 42-year-old Nu Imoru has been driving this taxi for the past 12 years.
It spoiled my car. Today, about 2 weeks today, I came to my shock absorber. Because of the place no good, I entered there and my shock absorber break. So I don't know how I will repair it. So I go borrow it for the fitters, the magazine fitters. They come and tow it for me for the road, the place. How the place gets this. The government is have to help us for the road. We are suffering for that. About almost 8 years today, and the road is still like that.
A similar story can be said of some of the roads at Wakwaguri. Apart from the several potholes one could describe as manholes, residents of this suburb on daily basis also inhale dust from the vehicles passing. Faustina Awana is a mother of 5 and owns this provisional shop. Through the dust inhaled by the person of the vehicles, she has now developed headache and chest pains.
My only worry here is the dust. All my clothes becomes dirty because of the dust. If a person comes to buy anything, I cannot give it out without cleaning it. I am always sick by inhaling the dust. If I blow my nose and you see the dust that will come out from my nostrils, you will be surprised. My house is full of dust. As a result of that, I always have chest pains.
One municipal chief executive, Alaji Isakutai Mumin, says government has plans of fixing the stretch of Porto Riddle Road.
I brought them to the notice of the authorities in the municipality. I mean the authorities in charge of maintenance and working on roads. And I think it was listened to. So later on, those roads were advertised. I mean the contract was advertised and people bidded for it. And the bids were open here and evaluation is in process. And I think by now, and hopefully it wouldn't be long. I'm sure a contract will be awarded because looking at the quantum of money involved, it is outside the threshold of this municipality and probably even the region. So it's being handled by national because the national will have to give concurrent approval of that contract. And I'm sure if that is done and the approval is given, what is budgeted for resealing can take care of, the potholes within the municipality. And then also we will be able to also work on part of the roads that are yet to be tarred.
Moving out of the heart of the municipality, the situation is worse, as you can see clearly, as there are broken culverts all over. In areas like Nakore, the culverts on the road has been broken for over a year, leading to several accidents. 23-year-old Sani Mumuni has a welding and fabrication shop some few meters away from the broken culvert. There are times that he has to run away to avoid being hit by a vehicle or a motorist. He has lost count of the number of accidents which have occurred here.
If accident occur here, either we run inside house or we run into there and take the people because the accident cause here is not good at all. You see one of the Kodoroko block has removed. It's when this one car come and hit it and lie down here. You see the Kodoroko Dam. It's not good. Making some accident here. Every day we are seeing so many accidents here every day.
Drivers and passengers plying the route from Wat to the War West District are equally unhappy about the state of the roads. Osman Lukman drives this urban bus on daily basis to the War West District capital, Wochao. He says he has never traveled to Wochao and back to Wa without visiting the fitter shop for repairs work.
I cannot describe how bad the road is. Right now, I am on my way to the magazine to repair the vehicle. I nearly ran into the broken culvert when you were stopping me. Government should work on the road for us.
But one municipal chief executive, Tarwisaku, says government will fix the road soon.
The one Korveri road and the feeder road was advertised, and I'm sure the process is ongoing, meaning contractors are bidding for it, and at the appropriate time it will be awarded and work will go on. You see, I initially planned to work on the culverts alone, at least to make the place motorable for vehicles and to reduce the speed of accidents. But upon discussion with the urban road, the feeder roads regional engineer, he advised me that the proposals we presented and then following up will soon get approval. So it will be good for us to use funds that could otherwise be used for other immediate needs for that place. And lo and behold, his words came to pass, and the place is being awarded.
The people of the Wa municipality are waiting with bated breath for a promise of the Wa NCA and the government to give a facelift to the roads in their communities in order to make their life better. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Wa.
And here in Kukumlemle, I'm Bernes Abubedu. This is News Today. It's now time for business news. Emmanuel Abuajiriafe is standing by with the latest.